Some men ruin attraction by saying too little, but more often, it's the ones who say too much. They overshare, they over-explain, they reveal every thought, every fear, every plan, hoping it will build connection. But instead of pulling her closer, she starts to feel something else. A weight, a loss of mystery, a quiet sense that maybe she's seen too much, too soon. This isn't about playing games. It's about understanding timing, power, and the strength of restraint. Because a man doesn't lose respect by being silent, he loses it by being too available, too open, too quick to hand over what should be earned. You don't have to hide who you are, but you must know what not to reveal and when. Today, we're not talking about manipulation. We're talking about masculine discipline, the art of holding frame, protecting your center, and keeping what's sacred from being used against you. These are the 7 things a man should never fully reveal to a woman. Let's begin. Part 1. Reacting too fast. When your emotions kill the mystery. Have you ever been in a moment where things were going well until you said just a little too much, too soon? It usually starts small, a compliment that turns into a confession, a joke that carries too much truth. A message you send late at night not because it needed to be said, but because your emotions refuse to wait. This is one of the most common mistakes older men make when connecting with younger women. They react too fast, not just in words, but in energy, in emotional tone, in needing things to go somewhere quickly. And what they don't realize is, the moment you chase certainty, you kill curiosity. Attraction thrives in mystery, in the space between knowing and not knowing. But when you overshare, overreact, or over-respond, you rob her of the space to wonder about you. Let's say she takes longer to reply to your text than usual. Instead of pausing, breathing, and focusing on your own day, you spiral. Did I say something wrong? Is she losing interest? Before long, you send another message, then another, and suddenly what could have been intrigue becomes pressure. Not because you meant to chase, but because you couldn't sit still. This is where many older men sabotage themselves. They've built careers, they've faced life's storms, but no one ever taught them that in relationships, restraint is power. That silence can be more powerful than an essay. That mystery can make a woman feel something logic never could. You don't need to rush to be understood. The moment you feel that urge, that anxiety to prove who you are or secure her interest, pause. Ask yourself, am I speaking because it's true or because I want control? She doesn't fall for the man who reacts to everything. She falls for the man who responds to very little because he chooses what's worth his energy. In a world that moves fast, she remembers the one man who doesn't. So the next time you feel the pull to react instantly, don't time. Let her wonder. Let her think. Let the silence speak on your behalf. Because when you master the art of emotional stillness, you don't just keep her attention, you keep your self-respect. Part 2. The idol trap: why worshiping her destroys your masculine edge. Damien met her at a wine bar in Chicago. She was younger, magnetic, confident. The kind of woman who doesn't just enter a room, she claims it. And almost instantly, Damien felt it. That subtle shift inside, like his worth had to rise to meet hers. So he tried to impress her, not by being bold or grounded, but by being agreeable, safe, polite to a fault. He laughed at every joke, nodded at every word, complimented her like she was art. But the more he gave, the less she leaned in. This is the idol trap, and it's one of the fastest ways a man loses his edge. When you place a woman on a pedestal, you're not making her feel admired. You're making yourself smaller. And whether she says it or not, she senses it. She feels that gap. Because when you idolize someone, you're saying, "You're up there, I'm down here." That imbalance might feel romantic in movies. In real life, it kills the spark. Here's what men often get wrong. Women don't fall for the man who treats them like a goddess. They fall for the man who treats them like a woman with depth, respect, and equality, not with worship. Damien's story is a reflection of what many older men do when faced with younger beauty. They stop being themselves and start performing. They think being overly nice will win her over. But women aren't moved by perfection. They're moved by presence. Real masculine power isn't about overpowering a woman, it's about not being overpowered by her beauty. It's when you can stand in her radiance and still feel centered in your own. It's when you speak with the same conviction whether she's stunning or not. And it's when you know deep down that no one is out of your league, when you stop ranking people by leagues. So what happened to Damien? He shifted. Slowly. He stopped trying to say what she wanted to hear and started saying what he truly felt. He didn't agree just to keep the peace. He brought his perspective. And something unexpected happened. She leaned in. Because the moment you stop chasing her approval is the moment she starts seeing your value. Part 3. Don't compete with her youth. Let your wisdom speak instead. There's a moment that happens often. You're in a deep conversation with a younger woman. Things are flowing effortlessly. And then she asks with a curious smile, "So, how old are you?" And suddenly, the air shifts. You hesitate. You calculate. You wonder if saying the number out loud will make her rethink everything. Maybe you even joke nervously, change the subject, or say something self-deprecating. But here's what that moment really reveals. Not your age, but your fear of it. Too many older men fall into this trap. Not because their age is the issue, but because they believe it is. They carry this silent burden that age is a disadvantage, something to hide or make up for. So they try to compete with her youth by dressing younger, speaking younger, or bending over backward to prove they're still with it. And every time they do, they give away their most powerful asset, their inner steadiness. Let me say something plainly. You weren't meant to compete with her age. You were meant to contrast it, to ground her restlessness with your calm, to match her curiosity with clarity, to meet her beauty with presence, not performance. Women aren't repelled by your age. They're repelled by your insecurity about it. And confidence? It's not about pretending it doesn't matter. It's about embracing the truth that your life experience, your emotional intelligence, your stability, those are things number 25-year-old can fake. They are earned, and they are rare. So when she asks about your age, don't shrink. Say it simply, directly, and smile. Then pivot the conversation back to something meaningful. Because the most attractive thing you can do isn't to hide your number, it's to show her that your number doesn't define your worth. The more secure you are in your years, the more magnetic you become. That steadiness, that unapologetic ownership of who you are, is what creates contrast. It's what makes you unforgettable in a sea of men who are still chasing external validation. So, here's your quiet power. Don't explain your age. Embody it. And in doing so, you'll stop trying to prove you're young and start showing her what it really means to be a man. Part 4. She saw the price tag. Not the man why leading with money kills desire. There's a strange silence that falls over a dinner table when a man starts talking about his investments, his car, his lake house. At first, it sounds like confidence, like success, but something shifts. The woman across from him smiles politely, sips her wine, and mentally checks out. not because wealth isn't attractive, but because something deeper is missing: presence. See, a lot of older men walk into relationships like they're negotiating a business deal. They lead with their bank account, hoping it will buy them charm, desirability, or worse, loyalty. But when you present money as your strongest trait, what you're really saying is, "This is all I believe I have to offer." And that, my friend, is the fastest way to become invisible. Let's be honest. Yes, financial stability matters. It signals maturity, responsibility, and planning. But stability is supposed to support attraction, not replace it. When you start leading with money-expensive dinners, lavish gifts, name-dropping your lifestyle, you reduce the entire connection down to a transaction. And real desire can't grow in a transaction. It grows in mystery, presence, polarity. I once met a man named Calvin, 52, recently divorced and trying to rebuild his dating life. He thought his success in business would naturally transfer to romance. So he treated every date like a client pitch showcasing what he could provide: trips, jewelry, security. And you know what he got in return? Women who wanted his lifestyle, not his soul. That's the hidden danger. When you attract with money, you have no idea if she's into you. You'll constantly question her intentions. Is she texting back because she feels something, or because she likes the way your wallet feels? The solution isn't to hide your success. It's to stop leading with it. Let your lifestyle speak quietly, in the background, like the sound of a distant engine, powerful, but not flashy. Focus instead on your presence in the moment. The questions you ask, the way you hold eye contact, the depth of your values. That's where real influence lives. Because at the end of the day, the men women remember aren't the richest. They're the ones who made them feel something, seen, challenged, desired. So don't show her the price tag. Show her the man who earned it, and the inner foundation it took to build that life. That's what she'll respect. That's what she'll crave. Part 5. Wise, not wanted when teaching her makes you less desired. There's a quiet mistake older men often make with younger women. It doesn't come from arrogance. It actually comes from care, from the desire to help, to guide, to protect. And that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. You position yourself as the mentor. You give her advice. You offer solutions. You become the steady hand she can rely on. And for a while, it feels right. She listens. She thanks you. She even opens up more. But slowly, without even realizing it, you stop being a man she's attracted to and start becoming her advisor. Here's the trap. When you present yourself as the wise guide, she sees you as safe. But safe doesn't always mean desirable. In fact, the moment you try to make a move after weeks of helpful texts, late-night career talks, and being her emotional anchor, she hesitates. She pulls back. She says those 5 words every man dreads. "I don't want to ruin our friendship." You didn't build romance. You built a professional relationship with feelings on one side only. Now, wisdom is a gift. Your experience matters. But if you weaponize that wisdom as your only value, you rob the connection of tension, playfulness, polarity. You become the teacher. She becomes the student. And in that dynamic, romance struggles to survive. Let me be clear. You can still offer value. You can still inspire her. But it must come from presence, not position. Let her feel your grounded masculinity first. Let her feel your energy before your guidance. Flirt a little. Tease a little. Be a man first. A mentor never. The truth is, most women don't want to be taught by you. They want to be seen by you. They don't need another lecture. They crave a connection that makes them feel alive. So ask yourself, am I trying to earn her affection by being helpful? Or am I showing up as a man who doesn't need to prove his worth? A confident man doesn't have to play teacher. He simply lives his truth and lets the world learn from the way he walks through it. Let go of the mentor mask. Stand as her equal. That's when she sees you not just as wise, but as wanted. Part 6. More than your resume. Why impressing her makes you forget to connect. You ever sit across from someone on a first date and feel like you're being interviewed? Not for a relationship, but for a job. That's what happens when older men treat conversations like a resume dump. They start listing everything what they've built, where they've traveled, how many awards they've stacked. And while those achievements might be impressive, they miss the mark emotionally. Because what the woman feels isn't admiration, it's detachment. Let me tell you about Victor. Late 40s, self-made, financially free. On paper, he was the kind of guy younger women say they want, but he kept wondering why second dates never came. When I asked him to walk me through how his dates usually went, he laughed and said, "Well, I usually talk about the companies I've built, where I went to grad school, and how I retired early." There it was. He was presenting himself like a LinkedIn profile instead of a man. Here's the irony. The more you try to prove your value, the more it looks like you're unsure you have it. You see, attraction isn't logical. It's not built on credentials or titles. It's emotional. It's subtle. It's in the way someone makes you feel safe, seen, curious. When a woman sits across from you, she's not asking, "What have you done?" She's wondering, "Who are you beneath all that?" Can you make her laugh? Can you hold space for silence? Can you actually listen without waiting to talk about yourself again? The most magnetic men speak less about their accomplishments and more about their observations. They ask, "What lights you up lately?" Or they share a short story about the moment that changed how they see life. If your past comes up, let it be part of the atmosphere, not the focal point. Like a great scent, it should be present but never overpowering. Because here's the truth. Confidence isn't proven. It's felt. You don't need to say you're high value. You just need to be calm enough not to say it. Part 7. When you stop caring for your body, she starts forgetting your presence. You don't need six-pack abs to be respected, but you do need to look like you still respect yourself. And that shows up in your body before it shows up anywhere else. See, there's a silent message your posture sends when you walk into a room. There's a quiet energy behind your eyes when you're rested, trained, and sharp. And women pick up on that faster than you think. It's not about being a model. It's about being a man in motion. Let yourself go physically, stop caring about how you show up, and you don't just lose attraction. You lose credibility. You lose presence. You disappear slowly, invisibly. Why? Because when a man stops investing in his physical self, it often signals that he's stopped investing in himself altogether. Not just in the gym, but in his standards, his effort, his sense of purpose. She doesn't need you to be flawless. She needs to feel that you're still awake, still hungry, still here. Your energy doesn't come from words. It comes from how you treat your body, from how you walk, how you move, how you sit with your back straight and your eyes clear. That's what women remember, even if they can't put it into words. And here's the brutal truth. When you neglect your body, you don't just let go of muscle or shape. You let go of your edge, your alertness, your primal signal of presence. So no, you don't need to bench 300 pounds. But you do need to look like a man who's still in the fight. Still showing up to life with intention, not just resignation. Because the moment your body starts whispering, I've stopped trying. She starts listening, and slowly, forgetting what it felt like to be around a man who radiated purpose. Final reflections, and your 7-day self-restraint challenge. Most men lose respect not by being too little, but by giving too much too soon to the wrong person. You weren't meant to be a resume or a confession booth. You were meant to be a presence, not a performance. Calm, intentional, and unforgettable. The men who stay in her memory aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who don't need to explain themselves, because they've already earned their own approval. So here's your 7-day challenge. Each day, hold something back. Your reaction, your brag, your past, and instead, let her feel the weight of your restraint. That's where mystery lives. That's where self-respect grows. And that's how real men leave an imprint. Not by chasing, not by pleasing, but by staying rooted in who they are, whether anyone claps or not. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be respected. Subscribe for more lessons like this. Your next evolution starts now.